and the Guitar of the Talking Toilets. So, it's actually pretty funny. These are actually pretty funny books.
Guys, we're going to do a part 2 of the 2 reading. Captain Underpants!
Shh. Mommy's asleep below him. Quiet. Nice.
Okay. Here. And here. Both in the same spot. Gotta make sure when I left off. So I'm at chapter 6 right now. Wait, chapter 16. Okay, so busted. Okay, where did you left off?
Yep.
So just memorize what chapter you're on and find the picture. It
Yep,
actually.
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
George
A black
inspected the mouse
and white
closely.
image apart in the
That's a
TV
great
screen.
trick, George
It was
laughed.
an overhead shot
You
of
really
George
hadn't
and Harold
grown for a
swinging
while.
paper
It's
to
not a
cheerleaders'
trick, cried
palms.
Melvin. The Patsy
Next came a
2000
shot
really
of
does
George and
bring
Harold
photos to
pouring
life.
poopy
I
liquid
didn't create a
bubble
living
back
creature from
to the
paintings
marching
and
band
drawings.
instruments.
Yeah, right,
How do you like
laughed
the
Harold.
pregame
That's how we
show
were the
at
con
Mr.
artists.
Poop on the thing?
George and Harold
And
walked
the
away
devilish
chuckling.
grin?
It was time to move on to bigger, better things.
You know, you said, ever since
George
you
and Harold
first
went
came
to the other end of the
this school,
gymnasium,
I've been one,
opened their backpacks, and
been
began
one
to work.
prank after another.
George
First
busied
you sort of
himself
poured
turning
to
all the
Jell-O
spray
sand
nozzles
and
on the
parent
atomic
chicken butt
dog
faces
washer
on the
around,
poopy
while
face.
Harold filled his soap
Then
tank
made
with
a
India
snow
ink.
of in the cafeteria. Then he ringed all the inner corners so they played Weird Al
Then they moved on to the volcano detector. Will you please pass me the big bag of butterscotch pudding and the Phillips head screwdriver? Asked Harold. Sure, said George, as he carefully inserted eggs into the ping-pong servomatic.
Mr. Coop
The
held the
following day
videotape
started
in
out
his hand.
sunny and
I
cheerful.
took the
The students and faculty filed
liberty
into the
of
gymnasium and
installing
checked their
tiny
seats
video
very
server
carefully before
cameras
sitting
all around
down.
the school.
Greetings,
Yes,
said
you
Mr. Krupp,
And one day,
who was standing up at the
it's gonna be
microphone.
so easy.
You don't need to worry about sticky seats today, he said. I've
I
taken
thought
measures to
Mom
ensure
and
that
Tom
this
had to do this
invention
thing.
convention won't be a
First,
disaster
I
like
thought
last
I
year.
sent copies to your parents.
Everyone
The
settled
boys
into the
swallowed
Madison
hard and
Mancini
sank
third grade,
deeply into their
stepped
chairs.
on stage to demonstrate her atomic
Then
dog
I
washer.
thought I
First,
might send a
said
copy to
Madison,
your school
you put
board.
your dog in the
She
tub.
continued.
Then
I
you
need
press this
both
button.
spelled for this.
Madison pressed the
The boys
start button.
swallowed harder
At first,
and
nothing
sank
happened.
deeper into their
Then
chairs.
suddenly,
Finally,
a
I
spurt
came
of
to see
inky
you.
black water
Into the
sprayed up and
football
out
team,
over
we
the
were
crowd.
curious.
Everyone
Just
except the
closed
dog
the
got
end of
soaked.
the
As Madison
fiasco.
tried desperately to
I
turn off the
think
sprayers.
sent a copy to them. George and Harold
I can't
were
stop it,
top
she
of
cried.
chairs.
Someone turned all the nozzles around. Now, who could have done that? Asked Mr. Krupp.
George and Harold carefully looked at the list. This is the black note, said George.
Next
Paul,
up
what do you like?
was Donnie Schumeyer
Black
with his
note.
ping
Paul,
pong
what do you like?
servomatic. He turned his machine on, and immediately it began hurling extra large grade A eggs into the crowd. Fruit, 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 went the machine. Splat, splat, splat,
Chapter
splat,
8.
splat with the eggs.
Crime and
I
punishment.
can't turn the machine off, cried Donnie.
At
Somebody
6
jammed
o'clock
a
the next
paperclip
morning,
into the
George
controller.
dragged himself out
Now,
of
who
bed
would have
and
done
walked
that?
to the
Asked
house
Mr.
and
Ribble.
washed his car.
Miss Ribble.
Head
Freddie
on
Moore's volcano
house.
detector was also a big flop. When Freddie connected the
Scrub
circuits to the
the
9-volt battery, a large spring,
rolling
which had
around
been
the yard.
crammed into the center of the miniature volcano, launched a giant plastic bag of butterscotch pudding high into the crowd. It landed somewhere between the 3rd and 4th rows.
And crowd glasses
Splat.
used afterward to
Hey,
cause
whined
those
Freddie,
wires out of Mr.
someone's
Crab's ass.
put pudding in my volcano. Now, who would have done that? Asked Mr.
George
Wiener.
and Harold sat up straight.
The rest of the day went on much the same way, with people shouting everything from, "Hey, who put oatmeal on my solar-powered leaf blower?" to, "Hey, who let all the mice out of my treadmill dune buggy?" It wasn't long before everyone fled the gymnasium, and the second annual invention convention had to be called off. How could this have happened? Cried Mr. Krupp as he wiped chocolate syrup, pencil shavings, and cream of mushroom soup off his face and shirt. George and Harold must have been in the study hall all day long. I put them in there myself. Excuse me, Mr. Krupp, said Melvin sneezily. I think I have an answer to your question. Crash went the door to the study hall room. Mr. Krupp stomped in like a crazy person. George and Harold had never seen him this upset before. "You boys are in so much trouble," Mr. Krupp shouted. "I'm putting you two on permanent detention for the rest of the school year."
Man, this is the worst
Wait
day
a
of my
second,
entire
cried
life.
George. "You can't prove anything." "Yeah, said Harold. We've been here all day." Mr. Krupp smiled devilishly and looked towards the door. "Oh, Melvin," he called. Melvin Sneedley stepped into the room, covered in mustard,
I took a piece of paper
eggshells,
out of bed, popped it, and handed it to the high road. It was an old
"They
scene
did
of a
it,"
pretty happy
Melvin
book.
said, pointing
Two
at
hands
George
in
and
the house
Harold.
and poo
"I
Harold.
saw him last night in the gym." "Melvin," cried George, horrified. "You promised." "I changed my mind," Melvin said, grinning smugly. "Have fun in detention." After school, Mr. Krupp ushered George and Harold into the detention room and wrote a long sentence on the chalkboard. "From now on," growled Mr. Krupp, "you boys will spend 2 hours a day after school copying this sentence over and over. I want every chalkboard in this room filled completely." On his way out of the door, Mr. Krupp turned and said with an evil grin, "And if either of you leaves this room for any reason, I'm going to suspend you both." He had to write, "I will never do anything that angers my handsome and charming principal, Mr. Krupp," over again. Now, as you
Next
might
morning,
have
George
guessed,
and Harold
writing
didn't
sentences
cry.
is nothing new to George and Harold. These two boys waited until Mr. Krupp left the room. Then they each took 4 homemade wooden rods out of their backpacks. The rods had holes in them that George and Harold had drilled in George's dad's workshop. George screwed the rods together while Harold inserted a piece of chalk into the hole. Then each took a pole and began copying Mr. Krupp's sentence. Every time they wrote one sentence, the wooden poles made 12. After about 3.5 minutes, every chalkboard in the room was completely filled. George and Harold sat down and admired their work. "We got a lot of time on our hands now," said George. "Got any ideas?" "Let's make a new comic book," said George. Was it Harold? So the two boys took out some paper and pens and created an all-new adventure about their favorite superhero. It was called Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. Chapter 9, Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets, by George Baird and Harold Hutchins. Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. One day, at school, everything was pretty normal. The lunch ladies were serving toasted rat sandwiches. Toasted rat sandwiches. Yummy. The principal was yelling blah, 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 blah. And the gym teacher was being mean to everybody. "My grandma can run faster than you guys."
Yes.
Then a UFO appeared. It zapped the school with an evil ray.